Hi, I'm Onno from the Max Planck Institute for Intelligent Systems, and I'm here to talk about colored noise exploration in deep reinforcement learning. And this work was created in collaboration with Jakob Hohenstein, Christina Pineri, and Georg Matthias. So I want to talk about exploration in continuous spaces, and to set the scene, I would like to start with a simple example about why we even need exploration in this setting. So what you see here is the classic mountain car control task. And the goal here is to apply forces to this car in such a way that it sort of swings back and forth until it reaches the flag on the top of the hill. And once it reaches the flag, it gets a positive reward, and at all other times it only sees a penalty telling it to not use large forces. So in practice, this means that with insufficient acceleration, which means that this flag at the top isn't really seen at the beginning, it very quickly learns not to use any force at all. So acceleration is very important. And the most common method of exploration in this setting is to just add some noise to the actions. And usually this noise is sampled independently at every time step, for example, from a Gaussian distribution. And noise of this type is called white noise, and there's actually a reason for that, which has to do with the power spectral density of the noise signal. So that's plotted here for white noise, and you can see that the average power of each frequency is identical. So if this were a light source, we would see that as white light. So there's a problem with using white noise for exploration in reinforcement learning. And because the noise is sampled independently at every time step, that means that there is no temporal correlation in the noise signal. And this makes exploration very slow, and even very simple tasks like the mountain car become challenging. But there's a simple fix for that, which is to just use a temporally correlated noise process, such as Ornstein-Uhlenbeck noise. So Ornstein-Uhlenbeck noise is very strongly correlated, but that means that on those tasks where exploration isn't very hard, it actually leads to worse performance because the sample trajectories are very off policy. So in this work, we want to find an action noise which works well as a default. So which works both on those tasks where exploration is hard and on those where it is easy. So to try and get the best of both worlds, we consider noise of intermediate temporal correlation. And in particular, we will look at a family of noise processes called colored noise. So colored noise is defined by a power law distribution of the power spectral density and has a single parameter beta, which controls the strength of correlation. So white noise is a special case of colored noise where beta is 0. And OU noise is also related to colored noise because it is similar to red noise, which is colored noise with a beta of 2. But beta can take many other values. And as we are interested in intermediate temporal correlation, we consider the interval from 0 to 2. And one particular case is pink noise, which just means that beta is 1. And all of these noises are cheap to generate and easy to use as action noise. So to see how these colored noises perform as a default action noise in reinforcement learning, we ran a range of benchmark experiments and looked at the average performance that each noise type achieves across all of these environments. So because a good default action noise should work well across all of these environments, right? So these are the results of these experiments. So white noise is on the left here, and OU noise is on the right, and in the middle are all the intermediate beta values. So we can see that intermediate temporal correlation does indeed lead to increased performance. And in particular, pink noise, which is beta 1, performs best on these environments. So to make these environments comparable, we had to normalize all the performances. So the absolute values here wouldn't tell us much. But what we can see is that this increase in performance is significant. But to make it a bit more concrete, here are also a few learning curves on some tasks where pink noise outperforms white noise exploration and OU noise exploration. But pink noise doesn't outperform all noise types in all environments. But what it does do is it works well on all environments, which definitely can't be said about white noise and OU noise. And in particular, pink noise always outperforms at least one of white noise and OU noise on all the environments that we tested. Right, so we also tried some more sophisticated approaches, such as scheduling beta over the course of training, or choosing it randomly for each rollout, or even using a bandit method to optimize beta online and adapt it to the task at hand. But ultimately, pink noise outperformed all of these other approaches as well. So a fair question to ask would be, why does pink noise work so well as a default? And in particular, we saw two things. We saw that it works very well on some specific environments, and also more generally that it works well across the whole range of environments. So it's difficult to answer why this works theoretically. So instead, we looked at a simplified environment where we can see these same observations and can understand them intuitively. And this environment is a simple bounded integrator where the state is just a clipped sum of the action. Yes, state is just a clipped sum of the actions. So this environment can be made bigger or smaller by just changing the clipping threshold. And to see how well a certain noise type explores the space, we can just sample a few trajectories. And for a very small space, this is what these trajectories might look like. So for white noise, we can see it very nicely covers the whole space. Pink noise is not quite as good, but it's okay. And OU noise is very bad. And this is because its strong temporal correlation makes it quickly go to the edges of the space and then get stuck there. So that's a very small space. What about a very large space? Well, now we can see the problem with white noise. It's much too slow to really cover the space in a given time. Pink noise does much better, and OU noise does even better. So thanks to its strong temporal correlation, it even reaches the edges. Okay, we've seen very large, very big. What about like a medium-sized environment? So here we see that pink noise covers the space even better than white noise, which is again too slow, and OU noise, which again sort of gets stuck at the edges. So really what we've seen is that each noise type works best on a certain size of environment. But that the strength of pink noise might be that it's more general, that it performs well across the whole range of environment sizes here. And we can make this a bit more concrete. So we can compute, we can measure the quality of exploration by computing an estimate for the entropy of the state visitation distribution. And if you just do this for all possible or all sensible environment sizes in this case, then this is what we would see. So on the left, we again see that if we have a very small environment, then white noise explores best. And on the right, we see for a very large environment, OU noise explores best. And in the middle, pink noise seems to be best. But very often, we don't really know the parameterization of our environment. So we don't maybe know the size here in this case, right? Where on this x-axis we are. But we still have to commit to a single action noise type to choose. And here, in this case, it's obvious that pink noise would be the better choice of the three. And so we repeated this same analysis on a different simplified environment, a driven harmonic oscillator, and we saw the same results, namely that pink noise is more general than white noise and OU noise, in the sense that it is less sensitive to the parameterization of the environment. And this also explains the average performance results we saw on the benchmark experiments from before, because all of these tasks that we used were very different, and really they prefer different noise types. So the reason why pink noise performed best across all of them is that it's very general. So as a takeaway, we recommend that you give pink noise a try as the default action noise in RL for continuous control. And we've made that very easy with this Python package. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you at the poster session.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the talk. There is another exploration strategy called state-dependent exploration, where we would only take a new exploration noise every 10 steps, but it's a more abstract exploration. Did you look into that, how that compares?
We didn't compare it to this specifically. I've heard of it, but we didn't test it out. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Hi, thanks for the talk. Very interesting. I guess, somewhat similar question, but I know you motivated pink noise towards the end in terms of state coverage. And I know there's some methods that either explicitly try to maximize state coverage using nonparametric estimators of state entropy, and also more on the simple side, closer to what you're talking about, there's work from Levy flights, like the easy greedy algorithm, where instead of taking time correlated noise, you just have white noise that you extend for a variable duration. So I was curious to see if there's any relationship between, white noise for variable duration versus time correlated noise. But yeah.
So white noise for variable duration, I haven't heard of this. I expect from what you've said, it sounds similar. Like it's also probably temporally correlated noise. If you like measure if you cut it into discrete time steps, probably, right? And so there's definitely a relation to Levy flights and this, but we haven't figured out the correct relation between these ideas, so I didn't include that. Yeah.